Show FootyCast live from BackChat Studios. That's right, I'm back in the country, back in the state. We are back in business, Skeeter. Round one in the books. Finally, some stuff to talk about that isn't just absolute Pooparama predictions. Great to be here with you, Skeet. How was the weekend? How you feeling? You happy? You sad?
Could be the longest season in the history of the AFL if you're from WA. That's my gut feeling after watching the Eagles yesterday. The Dockers, let's hope that's an aberration. Otherwise, we'll be sitting here for 6 months twiddling our thumbs thinking what the hell is going on in this state.
Let's hope they're both aberrations. Seriously. Like, we can't be copping that for the whole year from both the WA sides.
It was really ordinary weekend. In fact, there were probably 4 matches that were absolutely just slice and dice situations for clubs. Port Adelaide, absolutely poleaxed. Obviously Fremantle, West Coast, St Kilda. So, yeah, there's a few clubs with some concerns after just one game of footy.
Correct. Thanks for being here, audience. shelterfootycast.com.au. You can follow us on social, Shelter FootyCast on Instagram. Send us an email. We'd love to hear your contribution. FootyCast at backchatstudios.com.au. A bit of a reminder off the top. Skeet, we have our big Derby preview show. I'm just moving some things around at the moment, just trying to get your attendance there on a Thursday night. I know you're a busy man. I mean, I was driving home from the footy yesterday before I keep going with the preview show, right? Yes. And I'm assuming the local 7 call, like it was great to have.
Yeah, it was 7. Good fun. It was great. It was,
that's who you worked for yesterday?
I did work for 7, yeah. Mm. And as I said, I'm to a lot of people actually in the media, and I said, it's so great. We've got all these extra, workers involved. So it's good for the media industry in WA. You guys, obviously, as always, do a great job. And, yeah, it was our first run.
So it's Channel 7. I'm here with the main caller for Channel 7.
Yeah.
I get in my car. Like, I promise, because I was quick out of there. Don't worry about that. The siren's gone off. Get out of there. Right. I was in my car within 13 minutes of the siren. And 6PR, I tuned on our radio station. And I listen and I hear someone mumbling on in the background. It's Mark Reddings on 6PR. I would like to know, do you have a cut-off time for your invoice in terms of, is it seconds as the siren goes? Like you would have been on 6PR before the 7 broadcast was off air.
Not quite, but look, and Glenn Jakovich and Lee Spur did the same thing. They took the mickey and they said, look, obviously looking to make sure you get the half day for 6PR put in there, but no, it doesn't quite work that way. So
are you just a man of many talents?
Well, I am. Yeah, I've got to deal with PR, but bottom line is Carl does breakfast radio, and he'd been out wearing the gold suit. He looked completely ridiculous. You didn't see him.
I saw it. Honestly, I reckon if he got hit by a sun, he would have melted into the ground.
Mate, if you just put a little lighter to him, he would have just exploded into a ball of flames. But I said, mate, are you going to wear that out of here home? He says, oh, yeah, he's got no issues. He couldn't not care. Anyway, so he went home and, I did a bit of work and I went home and sat with my family, watched maths and went to bed.
How was maths?
It's crap. But, I watch it with the daughters and my wife gives commentary, my daughters give commentary. And I just realised that when you look at those freaks that we actually are quite normal people.
Yes, that is correct, Skeeter. So, Derby preview show, go and buy your tickets, backchatstudios.com.au. They're selling quite fast. It's going to be a great day, great night at the Leederville Hotel. This is the Thursday before the Derby. It'll be a mini backchat show. We've got Liam Duggan, the captain of West Coast, Sean Darcy, leadership group ruckman extraordinaire from the Freo Dockers.
Essendon Port Adelaide is the broadcast game,
Correct.
As Dennis used to say.
So we're going to open the doors at 4:30. Come in, have a beer, talk a bit of shit with us, and then we'll get into our show live on the stage. It's going to be a great night, so make sure you get your tickets at backchatstudios.com.au. They are live right now. Skeet, let's get into the round, Skeeter. I think the biggest story out of the weekend...
Don't tell me MRO already.
And you're going to absolutely be beating a dead horse this year. The MRO suspensions are leading the way, and it's great to see, with the greatest level of sarcasm I could possibly bring to this podcast, that outcome over action is straight into it. Now, let me just tell you these 3 here. Jack Scrimshaw, 3 weeks for striking Jordan Ridley. That is a correct call. Swinging arm, hits him in the jaw, tackle gone wrong, but it is a terrible action. right? We do not want swinging arms, clocking blokes in the head, right? It's an action 3-weeker. Great. Justin McInerney, 3 weeks. Brandon Starcevic concussed. Have you seen this one?
I saw a brief highlight of it, so I'm not as prepared as you are to possibly give it a strong...
I'm going to put that in the middle because I haven't seen it. 3 weeks.
I'm thinking, because I don't see as much, like, either you make stuff up or you see a lot of footy.
I've seen Scrimshaw and I've seen the last one. I haven't seen McInerney, so I don't know.
Likewise.
I don't know where that sits, but whatever. I haven't seen it. Jackson Archer. So compared to Scrimshaw, if we're talking action 3 weeks, Jackson Archer, 3 weeks, Luke Cleary concussed, terrible outcome, right? Terrible. We do not want to see players concussed in the way Luke, it was just dreadful. But the action was him running Jackson Archer hard to win the footy. And
his opponent had gone to ground. We should put that, was in the process of going to ground.
He was going hard too, Luke.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? 3 weeks. So exactly the same as Scrimshaw. But the difference is Archer is outcome-based, not action-based. I don't know if we can take a player running hard to win a ball. I was going back and forth with Brad Smith, former West Coast Eagle, great man, Smithy, on Twitter last night around this. I don't. So Smithy and others, people saying, well, you need to be more cautious when running in to the ball, and you need to show more care for your opponent. My question would be, at what point is Jackson Archer making that decision to be more cautious and to decide that Luke gets to the ball first? It's about 0.1 of a second that Jackson Archer misses being there first.
The reaction time is just, it's like, okay, let me put this into cricket terms. It's a bit like facing at his absolute fastest Brett Lee or someone of that ilk, and you have that 0.1 of a second to make the decision to play a shot or not.
Yes, and it's taken 1 week and we've already got action and outcome-based suspensions. They've both got 3 weeks. One's a terrible action. That's what we want out of the game, Jack Scrimshaw's swinging arm. Jackson Archer, 3 weeks. I personally do not want to see players going in hard for the footy out of the game. You could argue this one, it was very close to being taken to legs and Luke Cleary getting suspended.
So your point of view,
outcome.
And I'm not disagreeing, but it just cleared.
It's a great question.
Because there was a concussion
It's a great question. I think we could probably see a suspension. It has to be less than Scrimshaw.
Yeah,
or Scrimshaw has to be more.
They'll definitely appeal it, and I think it'll land in that 1 to 2 week space, whether you like it or not. I think there'll be a suspension attached to it. That's my gut feeling. And you get, again, it is because of the outcome.
I just don't see how that's 3 weeks. I can't see it. Other arguments made, the AFL's trying to clean up the game, so it's more inviting for kids to play.
No, don't.
My view on that sort of stuff is, I've got kids. We can officiate and make rules at lower levels to make the game more inviting for kids to play, boys and girls.
Which are going to be totally different rules to what you're going to see in senior footy.
This is the elite level of football in the country. You cannot put a mandate on someone like Jackson Archer. Okay, so has he gone in too hard? Maybe. Has Luke Curry got his technique wrong? Like he's going in head first. Should he be sold? No, there's so many things. Yeah. At the elite level, you can't be making rules to make the game safer for kids. I'm sorry.
No,
that's not what we're doing.
I'm just thinking more about, I think Cleary going for the footy, by virtue of where it was, I think he probably doesn't have to change anything with him. Does Archer have that time to react, adjust? I mean, you're better to speak of that than me. So I think he'll be suspended just by virtue of having 3 on the board already. But one thing guaranteed, they'll challenge, I'm guessing.
Just out of a little drive-by here, Tom Lynch got a week for a bump on TDK, jumped, got him with a shoulder to his face. That's a bad action. That to me should be in the 2 to 3 week range. If we're talking about that action, but Tom Lee Cutting plays on, so the outcome isn't bad enough for it to be 3 weeks.
So why don't we just make it that, the outcome? Or does that become completely ridiculous?
Well, that's what it is.
No, I'm saying, but
it is ridiculous. The inconsistency is based on outcome. You could You could run with a bloody sledgehammer, swing it at someone, miss them, right? And when I say sledgehammer, maybe your fist, your elbow, your shoulder, miss them by a centimetre and you're all good. The worst action you could ever see.
But that's no different to driving through a red light.
Yeah, but don't use that example.
Let me tell you.
Football, not
no. But it's the same theory. You drive through a red light. You could easily take somebody out, kill somebody, and this is going to the different levels, and you get a fine for going through a red light.
Yeah.
Some other car comes through a green light. The consequences are so much different.
That's fine. That's on the road, and
it's an analogy.
I know it's an analogy, but it's not comparable because it's football versus driving on the road. It's very different because, people can run a red light and no cameras be there and no one, at 3 in the morning and no one gets hit and that's the action and nothing happens, right?
But I'm not talking about when there's no camera. Anyway,
I know.
I'm just trying to say that it isn't black and white, but I do agree with you on the premise,
mate. I can't sit here and cop bloody outcome-based suspensions for the rest of the year. I'm just going to scream to the mountaintops. Anyway, let's keep moving. Skeet, I was in Melbourne on Thursday. You know that.
What a surprise.
Because we spoke together on this podcast. The atmosphere at the MCG, it was incredible, electric. It made me think about how different it is here to Perth. And, it's not a criticism, I guess, but having Optus Stadium where it is, you lose a typical footy atmosphere. When I say typical, you lose what Melbourne have so great, Adelaide have it, is this town centre type feel where everyone goes for a beer or catch up with mates beforehand. They then walk to the footy. They then win or lose. You got the pubs full with Carlton supporters drowning their sorrows and with their mates discussing the game. You got Swan Street, Richmond fans going bananas. We don't have that here. East Perth is the closest, precinct, but there's nothing over that side of the river.
Yeah, that's what's missing. Campfield's there. But how we have not been able to develop part of that area, and I think Gloucester Park in the not too distant future will end up being like a pretty central area for restaurants and cafes.
Surely we're copping a couple of riverside bloody restaurants and bars and venues.
I don't disagree at all. I guess the other factor, Scully, you've got to factor in here is that you're talking about the MCG primarily. I know Adelaide is different. It is walking distance, and that's the beauty of it. Having two different clubs, having two sets of supporters, whereas here, for instance, yesterday, I know Gold Coast very low supporter base, but it is primarily one club's team supporters at the venue. You might have 5,000 Richmond fans or 10,000, but
have you been in the SCG? SCG is remarkable. They got one club, and it's exactly the same because everyone can walk there. There's pubs just filled with people, and then afterwards filled with people. The one club, two club thing, it's not right. It's the location, and it is what it is. Everyone's on trains. Can't park your car out there.
Well, nothing's changing in the next 5 years, so we'll move on.
I know. Well, I'm just disappointed, I guess, because of how good an experience.
But we always need the MCGs because it's so central. Put it this way, Optus is central, but what are we, 18 it started. That's 7 years ago, and we've still got one pub within what, a kilometre.
You got Crown there too.
So that's a good 15-minute walk.
I'll tell you
what, 20
if we only spoke about things on here that we could change, Skeeter, there wouldn't be a lot of discussion. The MRO, bloody results of our teams.
Pubs, locations to...
I thought this might actually be more about, maybe we put a shelter brew pub or something down there.
Well.
On the positive side, AFL crowd records this weekend, all-time attendance record broken for round one. Is it all-time, or is it round one record?
I'd suggest it to be round one, given that... But, when you think of it, some of those, there were a couple of venues I thought were not at capacity, but...
431,505.
Did I read right, though? 23,000 to watch Melbourne and the Giants yesterday?
Probably sounds about right.
Yeah.
Because it was pissing with rain.
Yeah, that's true. But that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't think it's the all-time record, but still, compared to, say, the NRL round two numbers, you can
41,886.
There's no contrast between the AFL, the NRL with crowd attendances. That's just been in play for a long time.
It's a big numbers showing out, which we bitch and moan sometimes on here about.
They wanted footy last weekend, Scully. That's why they wanted it the previous weekend. They wanted it earlier. That's what I think. They wanted it earlier.
Or people could just like going to the footy. Like people, it doesn't have to be for a negative reason. Like people are loving the game, and fans have never been more attached to their sides, and they're actually rocking up.
Yeah, there'll be a few fans detaching from their sides. What is a fact?
There was 45,000 there yesterday. You reckon they're copping that for the rest of the year?
That's just horrendous. I mean,
No. What do you mean horrendous? There was 45,000 people there yesterday to cop that.
Oh no, I'm saying that. That's to have to sit through that, and it was. Yeah, we'll get to it, but yeah, and don't worry. Having worked in radio even last Thursday night, Saturday actually, more so with Docker supporters, it's you wait for a whole off season and then watch your team dish up some absolute tripe.
What have I written here? Cumulative loss 165,000.
Well, it was 165,000, but the WA clubs between them lost by a total margin, cumulatively, of 165 points, 78 and 87.
So without breaking down the game, Skeet, you're sitting here Monday morning after 5 months of waiting. Fremantle, I would say, have had huge expectations over the pre-season.
People have done that, and you've been one of them who've talking about top fours and all that. And
I'm talking about premierships, mate.
Yeah, no. And I've made plenty of wrong calls, but I think you've just got to get your season up and running first and make finals and do it the old-fashioned way. Just talking ahead. We're one game in, by the way. We're one game in.
I know, but if you're sitting here,
no, I know
expectations, whether or not you think they're going to win a flag or not, I think almost everyone expects Freo to be a top 8 side.
Yes, I think that is a fair call.
That's not a top 8 performance.
No, when you can contrast that to what Hawthorn has done in the first part of the season, what Adelaide has done with as much, I guess, pressure as much as expectation on them. Yeah, it was one of the poorest first up performances I've seen from Fremantle in years.
And I think there's been, rightly or wrongly, I think there's been an expectation that West Coast will improve with a new coach, with new game plan, with getting in new players, going to the trade table. I think for West Coast fans, and again without breaking these games down yet, there's been an air of expectation of improvement. And from what we saw yesterday, there is no improvement, none. In fact, and there's going to be Gold Coast very good midfield, which is correct. But if you're just sitting here as a fan going, what do we do? It was deflating.
Where are the positives? I'm trying to find some positives out of yesterday. You're right. The Gold Coast Suns midfield, and I was calling the game. They are. If they're not the top when they're up and running, top 3 or 4 in the comp, then so. But bear in mind, no Elliot Yeo, they still look like Kelly. They look so far off at their defence. Missing Tom Barras, obviously Harry Edwards. It's
copped a 75 entries or whatever.
And look, obviously was Waterman fit, Oscar Allen. It was just a day where Mini McQualter, if anything went wrong, it went wrong to his side. But that's taking nothing away from the Suns. I was super impressed with them.
But just more for the fans, mate. I just think you're driving home after that.
But this is 3 years worth of it, and I think they've won 10 games of their last 68.
But last year, though.
What happened last year?
Last year, I swear I'm going to have a quick look, but I swear the first couple of games and weeks, there was some games in which...
they played Port Adelaide last year away, I'm pretty sure.
Adelaide and got smacked by 50.
Yeah. So
round 2, they got smacked by 10 goals by GWS.
So there you go.
Then they got done by 76 points by the Bulldogs. Right.
So it's rinse and repeat at the moment. And my concern is... they haven't got a lot to come back in. Elliot Yeo, we know he's important. Liam Ryan as well. Who else is there I'm missing?
Correct. All right, let's come back on the West Coast game. And I'm going to start with Geelong defeating Fremantle Skeeter by 78 points at Kardinia Park. Let's break down the West Australian teams to kick things off. Bailey Smith, best on ground in Cat's debut, 32 disposals, 700 metres gained and a goal. Looked very good in blue and white. Sam De Conning was probably the most influential ruckman out there. There was a few of them running around out there as well. Patrick Dangerfield plays a forward, was very good. That's on the Geelong side. Look, if you talk about positives for Fremantle, your man Murphy Reid, 4 goals in 5 minutes. To get Freo, I don't know, almost like it felt like back into the game.
Yeah, they did. Oh, yeah, I thought he was. Look, he didn't do a lot outside of that, but if that's your contribution, you've fulfilled your part of the bargain on a day when very few others did much. I thought Matt Johnson now has. I reckon it's close to one of his better games. I know he's been accused of not using the footy as well as he should, but with 27 disposals, I thought he was one of the players that got them at least the ball moving and in his hands in the first half. But
Brayshaw did well. Brayshaw was tagged by Connor, or at least paid a lot of attention to. Like, he had 26 and a few shots on goal early, so I thought he did well to break through that. Yeah, other than that,
you've got to be honest with you. I thought there was probably the first 5 minutes that spell with Murphy Reid, and that was it. I didn't feel it at any stage other than that Fremantle controlled the game. Now, the numbers from a team perspective weren't.
No, poor, mate. So Mark's 55 to 110. So you cannot do anything if you can't control the footy.
Yeah, let me finish though. With clearance wise, they won the clearances, they won the hit outs. So stoppages is pretty even. So those numbers, you're right.
So was that positive though, to win clearances, hit outs, stoppages, and then get done by 80 points? Isn't that even worse?
Well, it probably is worse. But I'm saying in terms of what you're initially trying to win in the centre, that's generally what you're aiming to do, but after that, you're right. They just completely compounded on so many fronts.
The pressure factor to me looked like the difference in the game. 90 tackles to 60 in favour of Geelong. 23 of those tackles were inside 50. So it looked like, they got one clearances and stoppage, but the over handballing because of the pressure. They looked underprepared for the pressure that came. We heard Justin Longmuir speak after the game, I guess putting his hand up and saying I didn't prepare them well enough. I'm going to say that's JL trying to deflect a little bit.
He's trying to protect his players. Trying to protect his players, but that's not a great thing for a coach to be saying in round one. Go back to that figure of 23 tackles inside 50. That was Geelong. What about Fremantle?
5.
Exactly. That number is damning.
So from where to from Freo from here?
Let me just put a note of caution. We saw Collingwood look horrendous, I thought, against the Giants. Let's put this down to an aberration. I think you'll find this week that I'm told Shea Bolton will probably play against the Swans.
Okay.
There was a whisper. I got told that he wasn't overly keen to be playing his first game away from home. Now, I find that fanciful.
Surely not.
But anyway, he will likely
He's not going to get a bloody red carpet rollout. I mean, he's playing a game of footy. Let's get on with it.
I totally agree. So, you hear this sort of stuff and you go, okay, whatever. But it was more the manner of the defeat, don't you think? There was, I mean, they lost the last 4 at the end of last year. This one was just, it seemed like a big step backwards. I mean, to lose by 78 points, that's a pretty big audit.
Can I just say, Kardinia Park.
Well, yeah, you're not fond of it either.
Like one of the,
but they played well there. They won their last 2 there, so that's why it was a surprise they were absolutely mauled.
Yeah, everyone thought they were a big chance to at least challenge, and they just were wiped off the park. So, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board. I guess what'll be interesting is if they hold their nerve with their game plan, with their preparation, with their team.
Can you tell me what their game plan was?
Well, no, exactly right. Do you know what I mean? So then, if that's a pile of shit, which it looked like, well, what's plan B? And is there a plan B? Or do you go, look, we've worked on this, whatever that is, for the past 5 months. We're just going to roll it out again and hopefully get better effort, better execution, better handling of pressure.
You're like me, just watching on TV, but I noticed in the pre-season they pushed, for instance, Sarong into the goal square instead of, and the same at Brayshaw at times, I think. Now, they did that a couple of times on Saturday as well.
Mate, they're getting smoked in the middle, right? Around stoppages. Caleb Sarong was in the goal square for half a quarter.
That's my point.
Get your best player on the ball. Too often, coaches are too cute with this.
You're 100% right.
I saw Essendon and Hawthorn, and we'll break this game down a little bit. Essendon were better than Hawthorn, and Sam Mitchell knew it.
The metrics, yeah.
They were better than them, and Hawthorn won the game, did well, and took their opportunities. The first half, Nick Martin, their best player, Zach Merritt's their best player, their second best player, Nick Martin, is running around on a half-forward, fat-side bullshit role, gets 7-8 touches in the first half. They put him on ball in the third. He has 12, kicks a goal, sets another one. Like,
Play to your strengths.
Stop trying to, stop resting Caleb Sarong, your best inside mid in the goal square. Get him off, get him back into the middle. I don't know how you butcher that.
Maybe that stage was the game just about cooked. So I'm not sure what the theory was, but yeah, that's why I brought it up. It seems strange, and they tried that during the pre-season. Though, Sky, it wasn't just in round one because of the circumstances. They had been pushing one of their two really good bids inside 50 deep.
Hawthorn are doing it, definitely.
Yep.
John Newcombe was out of the goal square a lot on the weekend. Will Day plays out of there as well. So it's a strategy. But if it's not working, you need to put the strategy in the bin.
You can't get the ball to it.
Yeah, you just need to go, right, we're not doing that. It's wrong on ball. Go play some pleb out of the goal square. I don't know. Anyway, Skater, big work to be done at Fremantle. Gold Coast, who'd you pick, by the way?
I tipped Geelong pretty comfortably. Okay. I think you tipped Geelong, did you?
They would have been favourites, so I got them. Gold Coast defeat West Coast by 87 points at Optus Stadium yesterday. I was looking by like a 100-pointer late in that game. It was one of those games with 15 minutes ago just saying, wrap this up, get over
Mercy rule.
If I could just bring you back to last Thursday.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. I said they get within 6 goals, and I laughed at you.
You laughed?
Yeah, of course I did, yeah. I did laugh at you.
You made me feel like less of a man for suggesting that West Coast could get nowhere near Gold Coast and they were going to get smacked. 6 goals wasn't enough, clearly.
6 goals. I said 16 goals. I thought was more like a fair range.
Look, mate, I know most of the time I don't know what I'm talking about. But I'd just like you to acknowledge that I was spot on here, and West Coast were a pile of shit.
I've just said that. I said, yeah. So, and look, luckily on Seven's coverage yesterday, they had 7 panellists. West Coast on the selection. The tips before the game.
Who was picking West Coast?
Everyone.
How are West Coast ever going to win that game?
Mark McGrath, Ben Cousins, Ryan Daniels, Sean McManus, Danny Shuey, of course.
West Australia man, pull their head out there.
You know what?
Seriously.
Only one person picked the Gold Coast. Everyone laughed at me.
You picked them?
Well, of course I did.
Good. Bloody awesome.
And they said, why did you? I said, well, because I think they're going to win.
Mate.
They're a better side. On paper, they've got this midfield that... And let's just skirt around the other stuff. Let's talk about the fact that Noah Anderson, the youngest captain in the history of the Suns, now at 24, the youngest in the AFL as we speak, he, alongside Matt Rowell, and Rowell in that first quarter, you just thought, this is just a beast in as I said, Miley Cyrus, a wrecking ball. He just went through and just created. He was just enormous, and they were slaughtered through the centre square, and the numbers everywhere you look were just horrendous for the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I need to go through many numbers, but the biggest one was contested ball. So
40 plus, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we heard this from Minnie McWalter after the game that you can look at whatever you like, but if you can't win the footy contested possessions, 145 to 100, so it got done by 45 in the end. You just can't do anything. You can't get anything going in any regard. And they said they changed personnel. They changed strategy and structure. They put an extra in. They put someone behind the ball. They changed their wings to man on. Like they did everything they could have, but they got no reaction. So that's what I think is probably the really damning thing. Is it wasn't like West Coast go, we're just going to back the way we play here. They were moving around, and hearing Adam Simpson on Fox's coverage talk about it and breaking down what was happening. It was just an obliteration through the middle of the ground. 67 inside 50s to 34.
67? I mean, that's...
Mate, so I was at ground level. He'd been moved down there thanks to Simo's involvement with Fox Footy. So just getting right amongst the people in the game down there, Skeet, just right at eye level. That's where they put the important people.
Mate,
right.
I'm the plankton of the 7 coverage, don't worry.
So plankton, what do you mean? What's plankton mean?
Plankton's like, in the sea, you got the fish, the sharks, and then the bottom's the plankton.
I thought plankton floated up near the top.
No, I'm pretty sure
the whales sucked them in with their gills.
They'd probably do either way. Yeah, we weren't the main men, put it that way.
Of the seaweed. So what I noticed, a couple of things, like everything that people watching would have seen, dominations in the midfield. Gold Coast were loud. Like I could hear as the crowd settled down, Noah Anderson screaming.
Good leader.
So, yeah.
Or, I mean, it's one game in, but you know what this could be? I say that from Dimmer. This looked, and I was in the rooms pre-game.
Yeah.
This could be one of those, to get this team into the finals, one of the inspired moves during the off-season, in my opinion.
Mate, he's just an out-and-out leader. Like, you can see it. Tuke Miller, Matty Rowell. Like, these are midfielders, but all day I heard them yapping. Their back line, Sam Collins, was elite. I think Ballard's done his ACL.
Oh, you think it's ACL?
That's not confirmed. So he walked past me coming out of third quarter time. No, start of the third quarter. He'd been down, and I just said, "Charlie, how are you, mate?" And he gave me the, it was
no good.
Skull and
Which is really sad because
I hope that just meant for the game.
Yeah.
But it just looked. He's
important because Collins is outstanding. We know that McAndrew is waiting the wings, and he generally will play down back, but he can go forward. And Jed Walters also in the mix. I just want to quickly throw a couple of names at you.
Okay.
Tim Kelly, 14 disposals. I guess the issue that comes from a spectator's point of view is not so much having a down day, but given what he said publicly a few weeks ago, I like the fact when players are honest, and we shouldn't just hold them and hang them out to dry when they actually come out and say something. He said he'd lost his love of footy. But when you see a performance a few weeks later like that, and I want you to add Harley Reid into the mix here. Like I was told at lunch when I was out on Friday that he's not right, he's sore, he's got an injury. Now, there's no excuse. No excuse on that front. Well, obviously, Waterman's probably a question mark as to where he's at fitness-wise, but just want to get your thoughts on Kelly and Reid and what you saw yesterday.
Well, I think the overall mix, I talked about this last night on a little bit of a Twitter Spaces we were doing, and I used the word slugs. Their midfield mix, because they played Duggan in the back line for most of the day, their midfield mix looks slow and sluggish. And I said, just like, there's no one bursting out of anywhere. Jack Graham probably looked the most likely, but he's not.
He's a grinder. He's a trier, but he's not an A-grade midfielder.
No, absolutely not. Like you'd think Kelly and Reid, and they've got big expectation on Elijah Hewitt. Now Reid and Elijah Hewitt, very young players. I'm not going to go and take him.
Hewitt is so he's got so much more ground to make up with his match fitness.
Correct, but I just mean by the midfield mix, I just think they got a lot of work to do through there. Even Elliot Yeo, like if Yoe's not fit off the back of a big injury, like they're going to have guys that all at their very best explode out of stoppage. We saw Harley Reid do that when he first went in the midfield. He come out the middle, just missed that goal early. That's at their best. Like that's what they look like. At their worst, it is one-paced, no defensive.
I'm about to say, is a defensive element a concern for you?
Absolutely. And when you put them on Anderson, Rowell, Tuke Miller and co.
and Witz is dominating the ruck.
Witzy standing up there like he's on a step ladder. Like he was unbelievable. I heard Damien Hardwick in his press conference say it's one of the best games he's ever seen from a ruckman.
He was outstanding. I mean, he's 32 years of age last September, former co-captain. He's still, I'm thinking, in the top 3 or 4 ruckmen in the competition.
Now, I heard you boys going at it a little bit. It's too many ads getting played, things rolling around. But Jake Waterman's
commercialisation, you don't like it?
No, I love it. And thanks to our friends at Shell. Jake Waterman, so he was under an injury cloud by the sounds of it because the calf that he's been subbed out with, that was an issue during the week. Should he have played?
Well, that's a question I asked on radio last night after the game. Clearly, it's up to Jake to make the final call. I'm thinking, and with the calf, and I can only suspect that now that he was subbed off, that he has either felt a bit of awareness there or a bit of soreness that he won't be playing this week, unless I'm reading completely. Or whether
the way it was iced up after the game tells me he's not playing this week.
No.
Like if it's precautionary, you give it a bit of ice and then you're done. It looked like he had about 14 kilos of ice strapped around his leg. So, look,
should he have played? The answer is, I think, ideally, no.
Well, we've seen this from West Coast over the last few years, playing injured players. I don't see how in round one you're playing injured players.
Well, they made one good decision, and not whether it was even close, but Liam Ryan, with his history, should never have played, and he didn't. So let's give them.
Well, you say Harley Reid.
Well, Harley Reid, I've just been told he's whether he's had if not interrupted, he's had some sore spots there. So whether he's 100%, and the boys on radio again last night said, well, there's no excuse. Absolutely there's not. But the issue is, again, who's the next cab off the rank to come into the side? They don't have them in great numbers.
Look, I'm not going to be a hero, but I've been saying this. This is literally what I've been saying about West Coast, and I've had lots of fans coming at me saying, how do you hate the club? Do you do this and this? Like, I'm just looking at factually what they're putting out there. And
the list.
Andrew McWalter's not going to come in for 4 months and change his football club. Like, it's in a bad spot. And I keep saying that, and I keep getting the criticism, and why don't you back the football club? Well, I'm just saying how it is. That's all I'd like to say on that. I think we saw Mark of the Year yesterday. I think that's Mark of the Year.
No.
Mate, he's sitting on Harry Edwards, who is 200, right?
Harry Edwards was like one of those bags at training that you just use as a launch.
Exactly right, mate. That's Mark of the Year.
No, it's in round one.
I think it's Mark of the Year. Yeah, absolutely. That was as good a mark as you'll see. Someone who's over 200 sitting on another 200 centimetre in the goal square. I mean, what else do you like? I know round one, but what else do you need? That's Mark of the Year. I'm calling it. I don't know the rest of the year. Wrap it up. If you're a West Coast fan, you're like, yeah, same. Let's wrap it up for a year. Mark of the Year, absolutely. Ben King.
Yeah, 23 rounds to go. Let's see it.
Six goals. He was outstanding. Can I just say, Skater, and we'll get into the rest of it. It has done my head in for a number of years at West Coast, and I see it week in, week out, and I might be just a dour, person, back shoulder sort of guy. But the proactive positioning of defenders, and it's specifically at West Coast, does my head in. Blokes sitting in front of their men, being proactive, right? They get towed up because their midfield isn't good enough. They can't, unless you're McGovern, you can't defend from in front like that. And I don't care what game plan it is, the taking space, zoning, all this bullshit. Get them on a back shoulder and tell them to beat their men. I promise you, it does my head in. And Harry Edwards got sat on like a step ladder because he was sitting in front of his man. If Harry Edwards was behind his man, then put some body on him and crunch him. I don't know why this has crept into the game so much. Hawthorn, one of the best in the league, and their backline's going to develop into that. GWS, they play back shoulder. Sydney, back shoulder. But suddenly start talking about this proactive positioning bullshit, and it does my head in. And I watch it every week, and they lose their player. That ball's coming down at a rate of knots. No touch on your man. You got no chance. Yeah, no worry. Every player that plays on Harry Edwards v plays like that, and this is not Harry Edwards. The best player for the competition will just kick goals every week. And then the argument against that would be, I know I'm a bit technical here, but I feel like I can be a Skater because I have played in the back line in the AFL. The thing is like, well, okay, you're just giving up if you go and play back shoulder. You're not. You're giving yourself an opportunity to go one-on-one and halve a contest, and then at least giving yourself an opportunity. The proactive positioning stuff works in sides that have elite midfield pressure, and from what we saw yesterday, West Coast are not in that realm.
Yeah, the silver lining is, though, for every Eagle supporter, is that this week they go to Brisbane to take on the reigning premiers. So, good luck.
That's not bad from you, Skate. All right. Let's get into the rest of the round, Skeeter. Let's move on. Richmond defeat Carlton by 13 at the MCG. Of course, we have not spoken about this. I was just trying to figure out whether or not we've done this.
No, you were over there just doing what you do. At the
was this the upset of the century?
It was the upset of round one, I think. Of course it was. For I reckon, 20 years. People saying they hadn't seen a match like it. Look, I'm going to not go too long on this. Carlton, extremely disappointing after leading by 41. Young Tigers showing spirit, energy. Again, a lot of people, even after that match when we did radio, said, just wish the Eagles could show on Sunday something like this. But no, Sam Lawler gets a lot of the kudos. I like Traynor in defence. I thought he was a bit of a revelation. And Curvis outstanding in the ruck. I thought, all the numbers suggested Carlton still should have won the game. They didn't. All you can say is to Richmond, I'm happy for them because they've got a bunch of kids and they outplayed their opponents in the last half with will and desire and a little somersault by Seth Campbell to finish it off.
I had one of the great nights of my life, to be honest. I was with a big bunch of Richmond supporters in the MCC, like lads our age. First half, Uze, get him out of there. Sack him, 6 months. He's out the door, no aura, like cracking the shits, drowning their sorrows. Third quarter comes around, they kick a few goals. Then they win, and it's like give him the
keys
throne.
to punt road.
Yeah, like it was bloody funny. I had a great night with the lads. A few of them Shelter FootyCast listeners, so shout out, boys. Carlton, on the other hand, they just capitulated. They panicked, and a lot of folk has been putting on Nick Haynes as one of those guys. Mitch McGovern was strange, but Sam Doherty came on late. Everyone said, "Why doesn't Sam Doherty play?" He gave a goal up late. He was fresh. Look. That it was just an absolute. They just panicked. Honestly, they panicked with the pressure and the run.
They choked in the last half when the pressure came on them.
So you actually can fix that. But like I said this at the game, like Carlton can't play finals. Now I know that's just outrageous, but they can't play finals if they do that against good sides. They won't even go close.
And they're playing a good side this week. So yeah,
who are they playing this week?
They've got Hawthorn on Thursday night.
Into the furnace they jump. So, Richmond, well done. No one gave you a chance. Certainly on this panel, no one gave you a chance.
It's 5 days ago. Let's move on.
Yeah, okay. Hawthorn defeat Essendon by 26 at the MCG. Like I said off the top, Essendon were better than Hawthorn, and you can say what you like. They win the game, I know, but Sam Mitchell would have been a lot more edgy about this win than he would have been the week before. They were elite against Sydney. They weren't here. They got dominated from stoppage. They lost inside 50s, contested ball. All of sort of major indicators, Essendon beat them. But Hawthorn, on the positive side, I guess, for them, found a way to wrestle momentum all day. Like they always found a way to kick a goal. When Essendon looked like coming, Hawthorn kick a centre bounce goal.
Yeah, and the clearances, you mentioned, 50 to 31 in favour of Essendon. So all those numbers will make Brad Scott feel pretty good about himself.
Yeah.
I hate singling out players, and maybe it should be a stat in footy, some of the fumbles in footy. And Ben Mackay in the last quarter unfortunately had one of those moments at a ground level ball. But
that's as advertised, though.
But it's moments in a game. They trail by 18 and you're thinking, okay, they've got momentum on their side. Look, I don't think Essendon lose too many supporters on what they did. And you're right about Sam Mitchell. He won't be overly happy with that effort. You could tell the week before against Sydney, he was the eyes were sort of full steam. That was huge for him. This one, maybe a bit like the coach, the players, they'd got up for the Sydney game, and this was maybe just even mentally 5%. But what they did do well, and what they continue, they've got great foot skills. They take their moments, and even the odd set play coming into the game. We're out of defence. The Impey passage of play, if you remember that or you saw that, and obviously Sicily's involved. Yeah, it's changed a bit, that the set play coming out of defence, because even listening to your coach talk about it now, there's the zoning has gone a bit out of the defence of opposition clubs when you play them. Now it's a bit more one-on-one, so that possibly provides a better way or an easier way to do these set plays. But yeah, Hawthorn have got more than one way to get you though.
They the hardest lessons are learnt in a loss, right? So you lose a game by 3 points, and they're bloody hard lessons to lose because you don't get the 4 points, and you watch the vision, you feel sick, all this stuff. The easiest lessons to learn are in a win. It's like, here's what we didn't do well, bang, 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 but we got the 4 points. So they're easy lessons, but if you continue them against good sides, then you get done. I'm not saying Essendon's not a good side either. I think they're going to be much improved from what I saw. Hawthorn kicked 6 goals, easy goals. They kicked 4 centre bounce goals. They kicked 2 kick-in goals. Usually out of those 2, you might kick 2 a game. So they kicked 6. And that's probably the game right there. So positive signs for Essendon. Hawthorn get the win in the end. By the way, I got 7 out of 9 tips. So I can't remember who I tipped.
So did I think. Yeah.
Great, well done. Brisbane defeat Sydney by 4 points at the SCG. The Premiership rematch. We had to wait a week for this one. It was a good one at the SCG, Skater.
Yeah, the Swans really jumped them, and they were out by 4 goals. And yeah, it was obviously a huge game for them after going down to the Hawks. But as they've done, they've shown a lot of character, haven't they, this team, Brisbane, over the last 12 months. And again, you've got guys like Dunkley, Zorko, Jared Berry. Very quiet from Lachie Neal, I think only 10 possessions. Which
he was on the best tagger in the game, James Jordan.
But that's still that's a reasonable performance.
Just a little shout out to teams if you want to beat teams, even though Brisbane won. But if you want to beat the best player, put a tagger on them. Like it's very difficult to play with someone running around on you. So these teams that don't want to roll the dice against the midfield. Hello West Coast. Hello Fremantle. Go and tag the best player. It gives you a good opportunity to win. Now, the argument might be that Sydney lost, but Lachie Neale wasn't the way that they won. Their best player.
No, exactly. From Sydney's perspective, they're gallant. Obviously, they're missing some bodies. The McCartan experiment.
Yep. Do they count it? I don't know.
They've persisted with it. But how long do you go with it?
I think they need to put him back.
His best role's in defence, isn't it?
The Lizard was good, 24 touches and running around and flapping around like he usually does. But I think he needs to be in the back line. But I mean, they just may not have the depth in the forward line.
Well, obviously, Logan McDonald's not back.
Yeah, they think they're not going to get any contest in front of the footy. So that's what they're trying to do with it. I guess it goes the other way here and Sydney win. And we think, they're back. They've wrestled it back. And they could have quite easily won. In this one, Kai Lohman's done his syndesmosis, so he could be out for a bit. That's a big loss to Brisbane. And
Starcevic has got another bout of concussion after that incident.
Saw that. Yeah, correct. Okay. So I don't know where we sit there. Very difficult to play finals after starting 0-2. Well, just statistically.
Yeah, but maybe if we go back 12 months ago, Hawthorn started 0-5 and Brisbane was 0-3.
There's no more than two sides a year that do it.
No.
So Sydney can be that side, no worries. I'm just, if you want to start 2-0 or 1-1 or 0-2, you start behind the first two.
You're starting behind the 8 ball for sure.
Okay. Anything else you want to add there?
No, I thought it was a good game. I actually watched the last quarter. And I thought it was a good game of footy, having done the Geelong game earlier in the day. Brisbane, they're the best team on paper, let's be honest. And, they've got Levi Ashcroft coming in and, picking up 25 touches. They've got a nice...
rising star for him? Sure.
For this round?
Yeah,
there's a few contenders. Sam Lawler, Murphy Reid. There's a couple I'm not saying he won't, but, yeah, it's not a fait accompli.
Western Bulldogs defeat North Melbourne by 16 in a pretty good contest at Marvel Stadium. North fans got their first look at Jack Darling, Caleb Daniel, Luke Parker. I think they would be pretty, at least they walk away from that game with a contest. Now, their defence is an issue. Give up that amount of points that they gave up.
Yeah.
113 points. But to score 100, it's not a 50 to 90 point loss. It gives you some hope. Larky kicks 5 goals. I thought Ed Richards was impressive, probably best on ground through the middle of the ground. I think you walk away from that one going, well, at least we're going to be competitive at stages this year.
I reckon it was a game, and you tipped them as your upset of the round. And
it wasn't too bad. They lost by under 3 goals.
Yeah, but 5 goals to 1 first quarter. They were sort of always playing catch up from there. Dogs, let's be honest, they're missing plenty of quality. So if you're ever going to get them, this would have been the time to do it from North's perspective. Are we going to see the same old North where they, have a quarter where they struggle? I mean, God, anything we're comparing to the West Coast Eagles, we're talking the same basket.
Yes.
They're far more competitive. But, I expect North to be better this year. And, copping 16-point losses against a team like the Bulldogs probably is getting to the realms of being not acceptable week in, week out.
They won clearances, 42-36. Inside 50s was 48-57, so just slightly down there. I think they matched them across the board in contested possessions were even. That's what you want. And if you can do that most weeks, you're going to win games. You're going to win some games. I just wouldn't be that disappointed as a North fan. And the Bulldogs, like you said, undermanned, get a win. And so both sides come out of this okay.
Yeah, the midfield for the Dogs, obviously Libba led the way. And Matt Kennedy, good to see him get some opportunity or get an opportunity, 23 touches.
Yeah, right, okay.
What's that?
No, I was just wondering how he went. I didn't see what.
To be honest with you, I didn't see the game. Well, there's 2 on. There was Collingwood Port. I had other issues. I had to go to an event on Saturday night. So, yeah.
Neither did I, Skater. Collingwood. Jeez, they're idiots.
Well, you got to be honest. You can't sort of talk
I was doing the Porter pub. I was swimming a rot nest.
Yeah, you're on the gas with the sharks and in the water and everything.
It was decent shark once again. I copped it last year.
Yeah, Carl goes to me. We were talking about it in the media centre yesterday. He goes, but it was probably just one of those little gidgies or...
It was like 2.5 metres.
And standing with me, Paul Hazeby, he's going... And I said, Hayes, surely, if someone says shark, I'm not going to hang around to find out what species is coming my way. I'm getting out of harm's way. I mean, seriously, no, they're not going to. Mate, it's a shark.
Yeah.
Well, how would we know unless you're Steve Irwin?
It's also, you're swimming across the channel of Rottnest. I mean, that's where sharks live. They literally live there. So
why, if you hear shark, you're going to give them any possible chance?
No, but it's like saying, like, why are you driving on the freeway or on roads? The cars can kill you. Sharks can kill you. Look, you don't do the Rottnest swim thinking, I'm going to get killed by a shark. Just like you don't get in your car.
No, but if you hear there's a car careering down the Kwinana freeway, you're not going to start saying, well, I'll just stand here and let it come on. No, Scully, get away from sharks. It's not a good ending.
Okay, thank you, Skater.
Let's continue.
Yeah, thank you. Anyway, I didn't see any games Saturday. Collingwood defeat Port Adelaide by 91 in the MCG. Was that Saturday?
It was Saturday, yes. Twilight game. It was actually
a good one, this one.
Right, good game. The response by Collingwood was outstanding.
I thought this was going to come, no worries. I think we expected this, just not a 91er. I don't know.
So many negatives. I mean, the forward line of Collingwood, which was so impotent the week before.
Yes.
McStay Bob's up with 3. Membry was great with 4.
Is Nick Dacos still looking underprepared with 27 touches in the goal? Seriously.
Willem Drew went to him as we expected.
So he had a tagger and he had 27 in the goal.
But the story is not so much Collingwood, although it's more about Port and when they raise the white flag and Ken Hinkley's got this deal in place with Josh Carr, they invite scrutiny now, don't they?
They did this before the season started. Like this was a big question mark. We did our season preview, Skeeter, and one of the first questions was who's coaching? And we come out of this game, they lose by 91. I have the same question. Who coached this game? Seriously.
Well, Ken coached.
Ken coached?
Yes.
So what's Josh Carr doing?
We're continuing his role as assistant. I'm not being a smart ass.
No, I'm not either. I'm asking you the question.
Well, unless you think that Josh is coaching by proxy and Ken's on the boundary line just pretending.
I think players want clarity and they want roles and they want structure, and I think having the head coach in waiting, coaching the midfield, completely clouds that whole situation. And then pundits in the bloody media like you and I just go, well, what's going on here? And you dish that out, and I'm almost 100-point loss. And it's like, well, wrap this up. Might be time. And this is this heat will continue.
Yeah, of course. And if they put it this way, it will become an absolute furnace in Adelaide if Richmond get close to them this week.
Is that who they got? Richmond.
Yeah.
So the other thing is Adelaide played bloody well. So
Crows supporters, that's their best weekend for about 6 months, I reckon.
Yeah, and they would be just as happy with their win as they would be with Port's loss. Like,
exactly.
It happens here, right? Like, West Coast fans were celebrating on Saturday. But with Freo's loss, they were like, sucked in, and then they've rocked up and
whack.
Yeah. So
anyway, Collingwood, I'm not convinced they're back per se, but yeah, it was a good response. I expected it. So did you. They were towed up in the media. You were in Melbourne last week, and they were the hot potato until Carlton said hold my beer, and then it went on to St Kilda hold my beer. Then it was the Eagles hold my beer, and the Dockers also said hold my beer. And there's about 6 clubs that are at the same boat.
Dan Houston was close to best on ground. 27 disposals, 90% efficiency, 10 intercepts. He walked from that football club, mate. Like he walked in contract to another club. And our good friend Kane Corns, who I like a lot of his work, he pointed this one out, saw it on socials yesterday. The entire Port team hung around while Dan Houston did his post-game interview with Channel 7 or Fox Footy, and did a bloody guard of honour, shaking his hand, slapping him up. It was bizarre.
Really?
It was bizarre. Boys, you can see him after the game. Some would say, well, they're all mates with him and give him a text message or a phone call. I don't understand hanging around and doing that when you get wiped by 90. They were slapping and hugging and smiling and carrying on. Not good. Not good.
I totally agree.
Just to finish that, Dan McStay kicking 3, 7 marks, 21. That's big for Collingwood. That's something they haven't had. He's been injured. You add Tim Membry. McStay, Membry, as a bit of a combo, I think really changed how they look, because then you got Myercheck, who's consistently done it for a long time. Those 3, that's a different Collingwood than we've seen. I know they'll Port.
Yeah, I'm going to hold my judgment because Port was so putrid.
Okay. Adelaide defeating St Kilda, staying in Adelaide, of course. Adelaide Oval, beaten by 10 goals. Big day for Adelaide, and there's a lot of hype off the back of this. And, the highs and the lows after round one is hilarious, right? Fremantle can't play finals. Carlton can't play finals. Adelaide's going to win the premiership.
I think, in all seriousness, that performance signalled that they can at their best. And let's put into context St Kilda are missing players, and they're not going to be any good this year. But you'd rather be winning by 60 than scraping home by 6 against the Saints. And Jordan Dawson's still a gun, 27-2. Rankin, we know the class of him. I'll give a shout out to Rochelle. I thought 21 and 2 goals. He's always, copping a fair bit of scrutiny about the way he goes about his business. He's got a big season, and I did have a laugh, and I thought of you because when the sub came on for the Crows, Sid Draper. I know you love him because your son's name is spelled. I would say same spelling. Yeah, the crowd loved it, and he got a bit of the footy when he was on as well.
Yeah, I think he was running around doing a bit because I was listening to this one on radio, and he had 8 touches, but I think he's a bit of their future. They like the look of him. Rochelle Rankin combo, I think it's well pointed out, like 28-2 from Rankin. He's a superstar.
And then, when you put their forward line, Tex was nursed through, subbed out early, but Phil Thorpe.
Is he your man? I feel like you like him.
I do like him. No, seriously, I've always liked him. I think he's imposing. Hopefully he grows into his role. Fogarty's got the biggest thighs in the history of the AFL.
Foghorn Leghorn.
Oh, he's a big boy. But yeah, they've got some power forwards up there. So I'm not saying they're top 4. But I'd be very surprised if, I know it's only a small sample size, if they're not challenging for the 8 deep into August.
I don't know how to say Riley's name, so that's why I don't talk about him much.
Well, it's just Phil Thorpe.
Do you think it's Phil Thorpe?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to have a lisp.
Or a croaky croak. Riley Phil Thorpe. There you go. He was good. Adelaide, lots of positives. Love it. Last game of the weekend, GWS defeat Melbourne by 3 points at the MCG. I did see this one, Skeeter.
Did you?
Just watching while I was preparing very hard for my work on the boundary at Fox Footy. I just sort of might watch this game to help me get into the spirit of the game. Toby Green was probably best on ground. I reckon he had 11 disposals, 7 contests in the last quarter to get him over the line. He kicked 3 goals on the day. Finn Callahan, there was questions around, will we see that again? Well, we did, and he was next to Tom Green. So I think people thought that Finn Callahan was, taking his midfield time and spot, but he did it next to him. So he was able to do that. Genuine A-grader, no worries. Melbourne had 6 debutants. That would be the sort of question marks I would have about this game.
Yeah, but that's also, I think Melbourne don't lose any fans the way they went about it yesterday. They led by less than a kick with less than a minute or 2 remaining. I didn't see the end of this game because I was preparing as well, but they reportedly the WA kid, the Swan District's young gun, Darcy Jones, laid off a brilliant hand pass and set off the chain of events.
So it was a set play, basically. They had to go coast to coast. Melbourne had a shot at goal, missed. And they had to go coast to coast from a kick in, and they did. And they all were on the same page. And, did they play their best, GWS? No, they didn't.
But this type of win, and I keep going back to this, and I remember going back in your premiership year of 18, I think you beat Carlton at the G. It was a pretty average performance. But you beat a Carlton side that wasn't much chop. But you away from home to eke out a 2-goal win, a 3-goal win, in this case, what a 3-point win. These are the matches that you look back on, I reckon, later in the year and think, geez, we gutsed our way through this. So the Giants, not at their best, pretty hard to play as well as they did the previous week. But I thought Melbourne as well, to their credit, with the 6 debutants, with their guns back. Oliver looks like he's starting to recapture his best form. Petrarca, Gorn, they've got to... their forward line's still going to be an issue. I think they're still going to struggle to kick a score.
Yeah, that is going to be an issue. Like 74 points, probably not going to win you a lot of games, which is what they finished with. Look, as this play gets drawn up, running and gunning and through the middle of the ground, and there was brilliant handballs. It was wet, remember? I don't know if at the end of the play you got Lockie Keefe on the end of it from 50. Like I don't know if he's your number one choice. But in saying that, so Lockie Keefe was delisted effectively by GWS and back on the relisted. He's been from Collingwood, GWS. He's a journeyman effectively. Their number one ruck's gone down. Lockie Keefe is then just sort of
parachuted.
Yeah, parachuted in. But I see him take the mark, and I just think that I don't give him great.
So talk me through it. So he was 50 out.
Yeah, he took the mark probably between 40 and 45. So the man of the mark
Angle?
was somewhere there, 45-degree angle, but he kicked on 50. And he just absolutely flushed it.
So it reminds me, and again, I still haven't seen it, to be honest with you. It reminds me of, and I was at Lords actually when this happened. Port Adelaide beat Essendon after the siren.
Yes.
Was it Dan Houston?
Yeah.
So was it that sort
It
of...
wasn't that length. No, like I said, Dan Houston's man of the mark was on 50. Keith's was inside 50.
But it was the same type of... I mean, once they kicked that goal, how many seconds were left?
50 seconds.
Oh, so okay. So it wasn't done,
but it was, mate, because it's so low scoring.
Yeah,
so they weren't going to score again unless they got a lay down Mazes, centre bounce clearance the next one, which they didn't. But just I like moments like this because Lockie Keith, he's probably not on many kids' backs running around but to have a moment like that, he would, he'll never forget that for the rest of his life. Like that was brilliant. Boys got around him. They went into, probably kill the game mode and they get the win, like you said. So, just a big moment for Lockie Keith. He just hasn't had a career that you'd write up in the storybooks, but he goes and does the job. And it'll be the most rewarded player this week on the training track. No doubt, Skeet, that's all the games done and dusted. I might have a little sting here. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings, Shelter FootyCast. All right, a couple of questions and comments from you if you want to get featured in this section. FootyCast at backchatstudios.com.au, or you can join us on social Shelter FootyCast. Send a comment in on YouTube as well. Smooth on YouTube says, surely there's got to be people don't think there needs to be an illicit drug policy. I don't know what that means. Anyway, what players do in their spare time should be their business, and that's it. Players are people. The AFL don't own players' Pooperama shirt with a caricature of Skeet added to the BackChat score. Talk about selling like hotcakes. Okay, I think there's a few moments there. So they want to know a player Pooperama shirt with you saying that, and they also don't think there should be an illicit drug policy. Any comments?
Clearly, our correspondent might have partaken over the summer as well, if that's if he wants me on a shirt.
Jesse from last week on Thursday said, Skeet just roasting Scully for 5 minutes straight. Will didn't know what the fuck was going on. Just getting cooked. Good start, lads. Going to be a good year. You were absolutely smoking me on Thursday.
Well, mate, I'm waiting around for half an hour. You're doing crosses to radio. It's like, you beck and call and you're sitting in Melbourne about to go to lunch in Bridge Road and have a glass of wine.
This is from Coke Glasses on YouTube. Saints are sticking with their plan. 3 years getting young talent from the draft and then spend big. Will it work? Who knows? But they have to let Ross see it out. I thought he would have gotten more added than the 1 year. Of course, Brad Scott and Ross Lyon adding 1 year to their contract.
Yeah, forget the contract. The St Kilda plan, though, I still struggle to see. They've tried to get big fish, hasn't eventuated yet. They're not a destination club. That's a given at the moment. That may change. They might get the young draft talent through that can help Ross do this. But I still think they're sort of neither here nor there at the moment. Yes. North Melbourne, they've been given assistance and they should be improving.
Yes.
St Kilda, I fear for them in the next 5 years. I do.
Skeet, that's us. Finished, done, all done and sold. Make sure you go and get your tickets to the Derby preview show Thursday, the 27th of March, before the Derby. Selling quickly, backchatstudios.com.au. We'll be putting beers on before 4:30. On stage sometime after 6 Thursday night. Come down, bring your mates, and come bring a bit of atmosphere like we do near the G.
Yeah,
and do that in Leaderville.
Absolutely. Just for what it's worth, 4:30 means it's only 10 minutes before the start of the game. It's daylight saving still, so if you want to get down to watch the footy, get there on time and you can have a bit of fun in the process.
Very good. And I'm still working on getting you there, Skeeter. We'll see how that goes. Skeet, we're finished. Anything to finally add for us, mate?
No, we'll be back Thursday, or only 3 days before we start talking about the Blues and the Hawks. Looking forward to it. Big week, and let's hope WA Footy can find its way out of this horrible little weekend we had.
All right, let's go. Big Thursday.